How's it going, guys? Zombie from Mars 1000. Today is December 8th, 2020, and obviously in this video we'll be focusing on this Midwest snowstorm that's expected to occur and the shift further to the east, which is very interesting in what sort of impacts you may experience around the Great Lakes and in the Midwest and how powerful this storm will be. So we'll answer those questions the questions you may have right now. So looking at the GFS, obviously you could see that there's a pretty strong low pressure system around 5 days from now, bringing a pretty large swath of snow all throughout Michigan, and it's strengthening. While it isn't the strongest storm in the world, it is down to 998 millibars, and it is strengthening as it moves more and more to the northeast, and it continues to strengthen even as it moves towards Canada. So if we take a look, so in yesterday's video, in the previous GFS run, you would notice that in the last GFS run, the GFS model took this low pressure much further to the west, where it brought more impacts to the Dakotas and Minnesota. However, that forecast has shifted further to the east now, and I said that there may be a possibility that if the jet stream dip isn't as pronounced, and we're gonna see winds, or the jet stream winds, the upper level winds and lower level winds, face more of a westerly to easterly direction rather than a southerly to northerly direction, which is common for a big jet stream dip to bring very strong winds up towards the north. And so it seems like the GFS model is now leaning towards the jet stream being a little bit more straightened out rather than a big dip. And this means two things. For one thing is that it's less likely to turn up northward very quickly, as it's going to take a while for it to reach the northern portion of the United States. It's going to take a little longer, and it's going to move more in a northeasterly direction rather than a straight up north direction, which the GFS model was predicting in its previous run, where the jet stream was more pronounced, bringing more of that northerly wind component. And what this also means, less pronounced jet stream dip, is that there's going to be less instability, because that Arctic air won't dip as far south as expected, with a pronounced jet stream dip dipping all the way to the south, where and what this means is that there's going to be less instability, a weaker storm as a result of a smaller jet stream dip, and we're going to see less convection from this and less rapid intensification. So GFS has been shifting more and more towards the east in these past couple of runs, and it's now agreeing with the European model that it's gonna sort of take this trajectory towards the Great Lakes, towards Ohio. However, the good news is that it's almost exactly right with the forecast, and what this means is that when both of the computer models are pretty certain of which area a low pressure system or a ridge is going to be at, then the forecast becomes a lot more certain of what to expect and who will experience those impacts from this snowstorm. So we're seeing agreement with both the European model and the GFS model, which is definitely something good to see, since it makes the forecast a little bit more certain. However, there are still some slight differences. Like the European is still leaning towards a much weaker storm, because by the time it hits Lake Erie, it's still up towards 1,011 millibars. Compare that to GFS, which is quite a bit lower, down to 993 millibars, which isn't a powerful storm. However, it is still powerful enough to bring a lot of snow and a lot more rain across the northeast in general, and brings more wind coming off the Great Lakes, which could enhance the chance of lake effect snow after the storm passes through the northeast. So we still need to watch how powerful this will be going up the northeast coast. And I also want to point out that the forecast could still change drastically, because like I said in my previous videos, we're still around 5 days out before it reaches Ohio and Michigan and a lot of the northeast. So this could completely take a whole nother trajectory, and the margin of error is hundreds of miles wide. So we still need to watch, and also timing will could change over the next several days. Like if this jet stream dip is a little bit more pronounced, then we could see a shift more we could see more of we could see this low pressure move more towards a northerly direction rather than northeasterly direction, which would bring more impacts along the East Coast and the Great Lakes, which would mean that more of the Dakotas and Minnesota might get impacted if it were to take this far westward track where it turns northward much quicker than what the GFS model is forecasting at this point. However, there also could be another scenario where the jet stream dip is nearly straightened out, and we don't see much of a strong low pressure form at all, as it just drifts mainly towards the east, and it doesn't like move very north very quickly, as it's gonna be a slow trickle up north. So both cases are could happen. So there's still a lot of uncertainty, but at this point, the most likely scenario is that we're going to see more snow towards the Great Lakes region. I'm talking about Michigan, potentially the northern portions of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio might experience some snow, and the extreme interior portions of the Northeast and the higher elevations of the Northeast could experience some snow from this as well. But however, like I said, that could still completely change, because we've seen trajectories of low pressure systems completely change only 3 days out. This storm is around 5 days out from bringing snowfall around the Great Lakes, 5 to 4 days out. So these forecasts could change a lot, and we just need to keep in mind how far this jet stream dip, how much cold air is going to be behind these Alberta clippers that are originating from mid-latitude cyclone from the Pacific Ocean. We need to see where that ends up, because if it ends up in a position where a jet stream dip is more favorable, then we're going to see a more pronounced jet stream dip, a potentially stronger storm, and a track more that impacts more of the western states, the Midwestern states like the Dakotas and Minnesota. So here is this is around wait, let me go a little bit. So this is as of right now. You see there's a big mid-latitude cyclone in the northern Pacific right around Alaska. There's a huge ridge in the just off the coast of the Pacific, and interestingly enough, we see a rare upper level low that's just south of California at this point, and this upper level low will be the huge contributing factor that will eventually arise this snowstorm in the Midwest. And you could see that in the IR loop, the upper level low, it's right here. It essentially cut off from the jet stream, and now it's in pretty much an island of its own, and it's expected to move further to the east along with this subtropical jet, and eventually we'll encounter just enough instability to create more thunderstorm activity, and then a ridge will steer this upper level low up more northward, and then it'll encounter even more instability to strengthen this storm. So we definitely need to keep in watch with that. The GFS model exemplifies it. This upper level low moves further to the east, encounters a little bit more instability from a dipping Alberta clipper that's going to dip through the United States around 2 days from now, and then you see the low pressure system merges with another, and it's over Texas at this point, and it encounters just enough instability to strengthen much stronger as it heads onto the Midwest. And and another contributing factor, like I said, will be how the Alberta Clippers position itself, because if they move far south enough in a way that brings more of a jet stream dip, then I expect a stronger storm that turns more northward quicker, and that we're going to see experience more impacts along Dakotas and Minnesota. However, if that jet stream dip is less pronounced, and the GFS model forecast is more likely, where we're going to see more snow in Illinois, Indiana, just north of the Ohio River Valley, and throughout the Great Lakes, and potentially the interior Northeast. And if this jet stream dip is even less pronounced, then you're more likely to see more snow potentially in the interior northeast region. So we definitely need to keep in watch of that and how the trajectories of the of these Alberta Clippers and this upper level low will impact the forecast over the next several days. So in terms of the snowfall forecast, if the GFS model forecast was right, keep in mind that's a huge if, because we're still 5 days out. A lot could change in the forecast. If we take a look at the forecasted snowfall as the storm passes through, let's go around 138 hours from now when the storm is mostly passed by. You see that for the most part, you see that, wait, let me go. For the most part, there isn't a ton of snow. However, you do see some snow in the interior northeast portions, potentially up to 10 inches of snow in the Adirondack Mountains. You see around a good area of 3 to 6 inches throughout upstate New York and extending all the way to the northern portions of New England. However, the biggest snowfall and largest swath of snow you see is in the middle portion of Michigan, where you could experience up to 10 inches of snow from this if the GFS model were correct. And like I said before, that's a huge if. And if anything, we could see more snow in the Dakotas and Minnesota as the forecasts continuously shift. We have to just wait and see. However, I would say the most likely scenario is that we're going to see a snowstorm in the interior northeast and Michigan. And you also see over the next 5 days, you see a lot of snow in the higher elevations. This could be a good weekend for skiing in the Cascade Mountain ranges of Washington and Oregon. And you see that there's a lot of snow near Yellowstone and a lot of the Rocky Mountains, and will experience just enough snow for some skiing. So you might want to go skiing this weekend for a lot of you guys up northward. So now let's look at the Arctic Oscillation Index, which shows you how much which pretty much shows you how much like what will be the weather pattern for the winter. If it's a negative phase, you're more likely to see colder temperatures and more jet stream dips and potentially more snowstorms. However, if it's positive, you're more likely to see warmer temperatures and a less likely chance of snowstorm. And as you can see, as of right now, we're in the negative phase. So over the next several weeks, we could experience a lot more snowstorms and cold and Arctic blasts going through the United States. Since the westerly winds are weaker, that cold air is more likely to meander rather than move along with the westerly winds of the jet stream. So it seems like we're going to experience more snowstorms and cold air blasts over the next several weeks. So I want you guys to keep in mind that. And we're already seeing it right now based off of the GFS model, because we're seeing a pretty large jet stream dip through the Northeast and the Great Lakes. And it's evident by how much cold air there is by looking just off the coast of the East Coast, where you see a lot of these clouds, which represent that there's a lot of cold air moving over the much warmer air, and a lot of that warm air of the Gulf Stream is condensing in the upper atmosphere. And just looking at clouds like these where it's mainly dry and there's not a ton of moisture, it represents that there's a lot of cold, dry air over the Northeast and Great Lakes. So definitely expect that over the next several weeks if you're in the United States. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to subscribe if you like this content. And I hope you guys have a good day, a good night, or a good afternoon whenever you're watching this.